Hey folks, welcome to 2020. Welcome to Satterwhite Log Homes. This morning we're going to be talking a little bit about insurance, but let's get some neat stuff out of the way first. We had a great end of the year here at Satterwhite Log Homes, and Christmas and New Year's, we hear a lot from our great customers from over the years, and of course I'm kind of sentimental about stuff like that, but in 45 years, we sure have made a lot of friends, and I love that part of it. And we have got great expectations for 2020. Things are starting off here like gangbusters. We have a bunch of jobs getting ready to crank up all over the place, and just last week got another nice order in from New Zealand. Jobs to get started. Utah, Georgia, North Carolina, all over Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, and just about everywhere in between. By the way, let me just mention, next week we'll be at the Dallas Safari Club show, which if you're a hunter, fisherman, or outdoorsman, that is a heck of a nice show to go to and enjoy. Man, I started the year off right. Yesterday, I spent most of the day over at the ranch disking fire lanes and then burning off pastures. Got home about 5:30, I guess, and we had a big family dinner. And Travonda, she said, Danny, for the first time in the 43 years we've been married, that she'd baked an apple pie. And I tell you what, that was the best apple pie I have ever tasted in my life. And I can assure you folks, I have eaten lots of apple pies, so I should be an expert in that regard. Started. She said, Danny, for the first time. And this morning I started things off right. My old buddy Jim Dillard from Wascom, Texas, a couple of years ago, I guess, he started sending me a text every morning, a daily devotional, and I started off reading that. And Christy, our oldest daughter, for Christmas, she bought me a neat year's worth of daily devotionals and a journal to keep, and I read from that every morning now, started yesterday. And then also, my crazy preacher at Bar None, old Jason Taylor, he set up a group on Facebook, I think in September, called Traveling Partners. Can you bring that up, Danny, by the way? And there we go. And anyway, I'd invite y'all to go to that. It's every morning, Central Time, 6:30. And this is the most unconventional preacher you will probably have ever seen, but he tells it just like it is. This is geared mostly for men, but ladies are welcome to join in also. But 6:30 every morning we'll join Jay or Jason Taylor with Traveling Partners. We're working on the book of John right now on Traveling Partners, so you may want to read the first chapter, and I think going to start on chapter 2 tomorrow morning, but maybe you want to do a little reading ahead and see what Jason has to say about that. Well, this morning also, I get all my good reading and listening done, and Nick gave me a call early this morning about 6:20 something. Dad, we got a bunch of hogs in a trap over at the ranch. Well, he couldn't take care of them. He and Chris Rothrock are on their way, and grandson Tate, along with his dad, they're running to Utah to pick up his camper and Chris's camper and bring them back to Texas for the winter. They live in those in the woods during logging season, and I've always been jealous of Nick about that. But at any rate, he was calling me this morning, telling me, we got a bunch of hogs in the trap, Dad. I think there's 12 or 13. Well, I went and picked up other grandson Porter and handed him my old 22 that was the first one I ever bought. I think I was 14, which would have been about 1965. Anyway, I let him use that to send 16 hogs back to the devil, their maker. You know, I don't hate a lot of things, but I hate wild hogs. I hate onions and I hate cigarettes. And I don't know which one I hate the worst. But hogs have to be right up there at the top of the list. They have ruined more pasture for us this fall and winter. Going to have to disc up 50 or 60 acres to smooth it back up. And by the way, this hog pen that we're using now, it's one of these fancy deals that you can shut the gate remotely with your cell phone. One of our customers we're building for, a nice guy named Frank Mann, building over at Winona, Texas, and he sells those, and so we bought one of his systems, and we just really started catching hogs with it here the last 2 or 3 weeks, but that tickled me to death to catch 16 at one time during the night last night. Okay, let's talk about insurance a little bit, and I think we ought to. I'd like to show you something about the perils of insurance, and as Danny's bringing that up, I just mentioned, you know, I get so sick of watching the TV and all the ambulance chasing commercials. You know, every lawyer in the country seems to think that an insurance company is your arch enemy. Well, if you buy the insurance, they shouldn't be your enemy. They ought to be on some kind of friendly level with you. But insurance, people don't realize enough, is about relationship. You can buy insurance online and get all kind of cheap quotes on that, but there's nothing like having a relationship with an insurance agent so that you can look somebody in the eye and they can look over what you have and give you advice on what kind of coverage you need, or if you got too much coverage, save you some money on it. And at the end of this, we're going to talk about a couple of folks that we really, really have a great relationship with. Y'all know I always have to tell some stories, and as we go through this, I'm going to have to tell you one or two. But you know, you buy insurance for the perils of insurance and to help ease some of your costs. You're sharing the responsibility and the expense with an insurance company when you get hit. This is our used to be model home right down the road here from Longview. Giant tree fell over it. This is 2 or 3 years ago, and did unbelievably minimal damage to the house, virtually zero structural damage. Broke in a porch a little bit and a roof overhang, and shingle damage, but the folks were safe inside, and that's what really matters. A big pine tree was blown over on that house. Fire in log homes. You know, I mentioned too often, been at this 45 years, and I never cease to be amazed at the dumb things that people believe. And one of those for all these years has been things that insurance agents or realtors that don't know anything or builders that don't build log homes will tell you. You don't want those log homes, man, that's a fire trap. That thing will go up in smoke like crazy. Well, that is absolutely not true. And this is a good case in point right here. This house was near Azle, Texas, northwest of Fort Worth. Arson fire burned this house, and you can look at this photograph and you know that that's a total loss. A lot of damage, but I want you to see that the logs are basically intact. Everything inside the house was burned or melted. The log walls were still standing. And I want to talk just a minute about this. Because a log home has solid exterior walls, you have to get an awful lot of heat and flame against a log wall to ever make it literally burn. And in all these years, I've had a chance to investigate many fire losses, as well as other perils. And just because I've been in the log home business for so long, I get called in by adjusting companies, insurance companies, homeowners, lawyers representing any of the above, to go and help assess the level of damage. And the typical question I'm asked to answer is, can the log walls be salvaged? Well, boy, that says it all for me, because in almost all fire situations, the log walls are still there, but as you can tell, looking in at this photograph here, there is some fire damage that looks pretty deep. You can see some charring around where that picture or whatever was hanging on the wall there, but typically log walls char maybe a 1/4 inch deep. And then the charring itself, that's the carbonization of the wood, then acts as an insulation. It starves off the fuel to the fire so that, starves off the oxygen to the fire so it doesn't normally penetrate deeper. And so you can still have a good structure that's left that has a lot of fire damage. And now in all these years, I've seen 2 cases where a log building was totally burned down, burned to the ground. And I know of another, and I didn't get to investigate it, but at least 2 of the 3 were, I'm going to just say they were arson fires. And whenever you put enough accelerant, whether it's gasoline or diesel or Coleman fuel or whatever, in this particular case here, Coleman fuel was found in the floor of the kitchen, which was the accelerant used to get this fire going good. But unless you add an awful lot of accelerant, it's almost impossible to burn down a log wall. And carry it back to absolute basics. In your fireplace, you can't take a big piece of firewood and just hold a match to it and make a big fire get started. You have to have kindling, paper, some diesel, fire starter, something to get the heat up and enough flame spread to make the wood burn. And same is true with a log home. Nothing could be further than the truth that log homes are a fire trap. We've seen this time and time again. Flooding in log homes. Boy, they stand well through this. The pictures you're about to see here were of a flood down in south central Texas. River flooded, took a lot of conventional buildings off their foundation or completely wiped them out. Very devastating flood. But what you're going to see about this particular log home, that tells a story we've seen time and time again. Even the school's fleet of buses was ruined. And let's go back to that house. I think you'll see in some later pictures that this house was flooded up close to 8 feet high. And all that had to happen, I say all, it's easy if you're talking about it instead of doing it yourself. Everything had to be cleaned out. The muck that used to be sheetrock had to be shoveled off the floors. And everything cleaned, and then the logs allowed to be dried out. After a few weeks, the structure of the house was fine. The logs didn't move, and folks were ready to redo the inside of the house. All right, tornadoes. This is where I'm unbelievably proud. The pictures you're about to see here are from a little town in southwestern Missouri, just north of, my goodness, what's the big town in southwest Missouri there, Danny? Joplin, yeah. Close to Joplin. This was at Stockton, Missouri. Devastating tornado. Basically wiped the town out. Even the cemetery sustained an awful lot of damage. This Gleaner combine I'm showing you right here, I'm told that weighs 33,000 pounds, and it was sitting on the farm and ranch property where the log house you're about to see is, and that combine was tumbled over and over and over by the force of the winds and just pulverized. All right, a neighbor house damaged terribly. This particular neighbor's house, it looked like a bulldozer had just pushed everything together. No, this is the way the tornado left it, and I wish we had a close-up, but over in that right-hand corner, if you'll see that china cabinet, Danny was with me and he walked up and took pictures. That china cabinet did not have a piece of broken glass. Everything was on the shelves intact, just like it was before the tornado hits. You know, they're very, very strange things. Here's our log home. A lot of damage. Porches wrecked, windows blown in this case, a lot of roofing damage, obviously some water. If there was a lot of rain with this, it got leaked inside, but the folks were safe who were in this house, and they got into the basement. This particular log home had sheetrock ceilings, and the sheetrock wasn't even cracked. The roof was not racked. The walls were not moved, racked, or taken out of plumb by the storm. It was absolutely amazing. And I'm awfully proud of the way our log homes withstand extremely high winds. Here, back in 2013, the El Reno tornado, this would be, I guess, west-northwest of Oklahoma City, near El Reno, and we were able to pull up the path of the tornado, and the log home that was hit was right in the middle of the path, down the line, so the tornado was fully down on the ground when this house was hit. Houses all around totally wiped out. The log home was intact. The carport with a room over the carport was blown away. The back porch stripped off of it. Side porch stripped off of it. But anybody would have been safe if they lived there. There's the carport and that had a room over it, landed not upside down, landed correctly across the lake from the house. That gooseneck cattle trailer there was parked right beside the house, and just like that Gleaner combine in the other photographs, it tumbled and tumbled and tumbled and was absolutely ruined with this. But I'm awfully proud of the way our log homes stand hurricane and tornadic winds. Hurricanes we've had, because we built so many down in low country across the Gulf Coast. We've seen a lot of damage from hurricanes. Here was from Ike in 2008. That particular house, 3 weeks later, again, you shovel up the sheetrock muck off the floor, clean out the outside, ventilate everything well, get it good and dry, and the house is okay again. Now that Hurricane Ike damage was salt water. Then later, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Here's a convenience store just right down the way that was basically gone. Lots and lots of damage. This is inside that house. The water came, I'm going to guess, about 3.5 feet high inside the house. A lot of damage, but correctable. Then in 2017, Hurricane Harvey, same house, this time fresh water flooded it about the same height. And after Harvey, we went down, inspected this for the Ross family. House was in unbelievably good shape. Structurally, logs were in good shape. And so they decided, well, they had a choice. Where they were located, the county declared that any houses that had gotten flooded after Harvey had to either be demolished or raised. So the Rosses elected to raise that house, and we had poured the slab on this one, I think in 2001. Our own crew poured it, and this company out of Houston went in and literally jacked up the whole house. This was at a midpoint in the elevation of the house. They raised it about 3 feet, then stopped, and then poured footings all under the house, a monumental job, and then raised it in 16-inch lifts, raised it a total of 11 feet. So there is a huge carport and storage underneath that same house with the original concrete 11 feet above where it was originally poured. Unbelievable, beautiful home and wonderful folks. We've made a lot of friends in situations like this. Another one of our houses, Southeast Texas, after, I don't know if that was Ike, Katrina, Rita. I think this one that was after Rita. I think that was 2006, maybe. In areas that are prone to hurricane or tornado damage, and sometimes because of codes in those counties or parishes, we have to add extra wind strapping and do some more mechanical things than we might normally to give them a little more wind resistance. But our houses perform unbelievably well. Bolivar Peninsula, which was 18 miles away from that house you just saw, it was so bad it even sucked Hurricane Ike even sucked a septic tank out of the ground here, but devastating damage. Hurricane Rita and Katrina, lots of our houses were damaged. Most of that damage was done by fallen trees. And this particular house, it was kind of neat. This is down Southeast Texas in a development. In the development, there are some houses there are some trailers and some houses that may be a little substandard construction. Well, all the neighbors knew that log house on that little hill would probably be the safest place to be. So when the fury of that storm hit at 2 in the morning, there were 40 people standing in this living room waiting for the storm to pass over. And a gigantic oak tree off the right front corner was blown onto the roof. It crashed the front porch. A big limb crashed through the roof, the attic, and the ceiling, and that limb stopped over the homeowner's head. Wonderful lady, but the limb stopped right over her head. If it had gone down another foot or two, it would have killed her. And come to find out, that log was resting. What stopped it was that log or tree was resting on the log wall. And the log wall was strong enough to hold that tree up. And so the lady of the house, she always said that that our house is what saved her life. Now, I talked about an oak tree on that house. This is a different house, and you can tell that's a pine tree, but lots of damage from trees blowing over. All right, and just to show you the strength of properly built log homes, I guess it was probably a year and a half ago, we did a demonstration right here in our yard, and these walls are still up to show what happened. We had a big brick log wall challenge, and we built 3 frame walls just like your conventional house is built. Had a masonry contractor come in and lay the brick exactly like it'd be done for a brick home. And then what we did right beside this, we've got a log wall built the same way, and we let customers our attendees at one of our seminars take a swing with a sled. Boy, this is a bad day for me. A 12-pound sledgehammer. Each person could hit it 3 times, then give the sledgehammer to the next person in line. And guess what wall gave way first? With the brick wall, we broke completely through the brick, the OSB covering the framing, through the sheetrock on the inside of it, just to show how much stronger a log wall is than a brick wall. The log wall sustained some damage, but indentations only a maximum of about 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep on the outside, no damage on the inside of the log home. All right, I'm going to take a couple of minutes and we're going to talk about some good people in insurance and in relationships. This is Dan Combs. He's a friend of ours over at, he has one of our houses at Blue Ridge, Georgia. He has offices in Dalton and in Ellijay, Georgia. He's a State Farm agent, wonderful person, wonderful family, and he's the kind of guy you want to write your insurance because he is a relationship builder. Toll-free number for Dan's office over there is 877-440-7466. Now, I'm going to talk just a minute about other types of relationships and kind of back to the ambulance chasers I started off with insurance talking about. It's funny how people think that they deserve something that they don't. And we've had several situations over the many years of people trying to get to their insurance company, and I want to just tell you about a couple of them. Here in East Texas, a huge mining company had bought the lignite rights to many thousands of acres. And one of our customers we built a log home for, the property right behind theirs was under lease and was being mined. And so the mining company built a railroad to haul the lignite to the electric plant, generating plant just a few miles away. And this railroad track ran a quarter, maybe a half mile behind this particular log home. The owner wanted me to come by and inspect the house, and he wanted to make a claim that the vibration from the train on that track, good ways away from the house, had made the spikes that held the logs together back out, so that the house was a total loss and that either the insurance company or the mining company needed to buy him a new house. Well, nothing was further from the truth. The logs were tight together. There was no evidence that anything had moved at all. Just somebody wanting to skin an insurance company or somebody that has a bunch of money. We had another situation, I've seen this several times, a convenience store that we built out of logs. a car hit one corner of it, rolled into it, did a little bit of cosmetic damage to the corners of the logs, easy replaceable. And what was funny about it was the owner of the store wanted me to be willing to write a report saying that the whole building was rendered useless because it was racked because of the impact of that car. Nothing moved. Nothing moved. You know, we cuss insurance companies, and lawyers want to attack insurance companies, but there are way too many of us that want to take advantage of them when the insurance company is not to blame in a situation like that at all. And I'm going to tell you real quick about State Farm. Bring Dan's deal back up if you would, Danny. State Farm, many, many years ago, we built, go back to Dan, there you go. Dan is a State Farm agent. All right, in our early years, insurance was hard to get for log homes from a lot of companies. Most of the majors didn't want to write log homes. All right, in this one particular year, and this would have been back in sometime around 1980, 82, in this particular year, we built for 2 different State Farm agents. And State Farm wouldn't even write the agent's own policies. And it really made the agents mad. And so they helped me, and we approached State Farm. You know, what do you have against log homes? Well, the home office in Illinois, wherever State Farm is, well, there are 3 issues we have with log homes. And one of them was it's a fairly new industry. We're afraid of companies going in and out of business, so that we could not get replacement components for a log home that the company had gone out of business. Okay, I said, okay, I will guarantee you I can duplicate anybody's log, and we'll do that at no additional charge than we charge for our own logs of the same size to get you replacement logs. Great. Okay. Second thing was, what if you have some damage, like a hailstorm on one end of a house, or a Jeep runs into it and does some damage to one end, or a fire on one end of the house? Are we going to have to replace the logs all the way around it? Well, heck no, not at all. No problem at all to replace a single log, a group of logs, or an entire wall without replacing the logs around the whole house. At any rate, long story short, we answered the 3 issues that State Farm had, and so they decided they would insure log homes. But at the time, and I don't know how many years this lasted, they would only insure Satterwhite log homes. So we got a little extra perk out of that one. Now, I don't know if that was nationwide or just in the state of Texas, but anyway, I had something to beat my chest about with State Farm for a while. Insurance has been a little bit of a problem. Dan takes care of it, and now let's look at another agency here in Texas that we work with very closely. Can you bring Fred up? Oh, I've got it. Thank you, Danny. Boy, it's rough getting old. Roberts & Associates is a very, very special company, and you talk about relation builders. These folks are it. The guy in the middle, that really old guy there, is Fred Roberts. The lady on the right is his wife, Vicki. The guy on the left is Steve Evans. They are the heart and soul of Roberts & Associates. Years ago, Fred was interested in building his own log home in South Texas, and we talked a lot. He had been in insurance for years and years. By now, they've been at it for over 30 years. And Fred is the guy nationwide that attacked the problem of lack of insurance carriers wanting to insure log homes nationwide. Okay, he went to work. He got a number of carriers. In fact, Robertson Associates represents 25 plus different insurance carriers. These companies, for the most part, are AM Best A+, A++, and A Superior. So top companies that these folks write for, and they can write your insurance in something over 30 states from coast to coast. And they do an absolutely wonderful job. Fred's a member and on the board of directors of the International Log Builders Association. He's a member of the Building Systems Council, the Log Home Council, which is part of the National Association of Home Builders. They've got a great support staff that are familiar about log homes, and I can't say enough good about these folks. You see the phone numbers there, 877-378-2377 is the toll number to call, toll-free number. But I want to tell you personal about insurance agents. As I mentioned, you can buy online any kind of insurance. Be very wary of that, because insurance needs to be a relation business. Your insurance agent needs to be your friend and someone who can advise you and go to bat for you. For many, many years, my insurance was carried by one of my best friends. If I had a claim, he literally would hand deliver a check to me within just a few days of the accident or whatever the claim was. I couldn't ask for better service. That agency is Jackson Lloyd Agency, right here in Longview, Texas. All right. A group that I was on the board of owned an insurance agency many years down the road. And I was trying to save some money on insurance. And so I moved my business to that particular agency that I had a little bitty piece of. Well, we had $1 million fire at our facility in Gunnison, Utah, in the sawmill. The agent was absolutely worthless to me. He basically threw up his hands and didn't even try to help. That coverage that I had then was shared by 4 different Lloyd's of London companies. And you know, if you're in business or you have homes in various parts of the country, several homes, you might consider getting insurance separately for each of those, or split your business up. I had business in 4 states and thought it'd be good to have it all packaged. Wrong, because it was enough dollars of potential loss for the insurance company that they split it up with 4 Lloyd's companies. I had a heck of a time, a total fight from start to finish, and I didn't get that claim settled for, I'm trying to think, it was 9 months. We almost went broke because of the damage to our sawmill and not being able to get the money to get back in good shape quickly enough. All right, that agent that had thrown his hands up, do you know what help he offered me? Sam, I've got a brother who is a lawyer in Utah. Why don't you call him and see if he can sue him? You know, that's the last thing I want to hear from my insurance agent. Okay, then after that claim, I went with Robertson Associates for almost all of ours, and we're back to that personal service, an agent that will go to bat for you, that can give you good advice, and is a personal friend. Fred and I talk every week or 2 or 3 on the phone. We know each other's families. that's the kind of business I like to have. So can't say enough about Fred Roberts and Associates, his wife Vicki, Steve Evans, and here I got a text from Fred. I guess it was New Year's Eve, telling me what he was doing, and he was out riding around on the side-by-side with Vicster. Now, beautiful wife Vicki, his partner in business. I doubt if he actually calls her Vicster, but I called him to task. He and I talked this morning, or last night, I guess it was, about this. All right, Danny, is there anything else we haven't covered, think of? All right, I am long-winded. I apologize for that. Nice talking to you. We'll be back with you next Thursday at 11:30. Thank you.